Tyler Brooks had been working as a park ranger for 6 years, and he thought he had seen everything these woods could throw at him. Lost hikers, injured animals, the occasional bear wandering too close to the campsites. Nothing ever prepared him for the night a spaceship crashed into Sector 7 of the Wilderness Preserve. It was just past midnight when the sky lit up like the 4th of July. Tyler was making his usual rounds in his old pickup truck when something screamed overhead, trailing fire and smoke. The impact shook the ground hard enough that he had to grip the steering wheel to stay steady. His radio crackled with static, then went dead. Whatever that thing was, it had just knocked out communications for miles. Tyler grabbed his emergency kit and flashlight, his heart hammering as he drove toward the crash site. Part of him knew he should wait for backup, call the military, do something official. But another part of him, the part that had joined the Ranger Service to help people, pushed him forward. Someone might be hurt. Someone might need help right now. The crash site was worse than he imagined. Trees were flattened in a wide circle, and in the center sat a small craft that looked like nothing human hands had ever built. Its hull was smooth and dark, covered in symbols that seemed to shimmer in his flashlight beam. Smoke poured from a gash in the side, and through the haze Tyler could see movement. He approached carefully, calling out, though he had no idea if anyone inside could understand him. The closer he got, the more his hands shook. This was real. This was actually happening. There were aliens in his forest, and he was about to meet them. Through the smoking wreckage he heard a sound that stopped him cold. Crying. Not adult crying, but the frightened sobbing of children. Tyler forgot about protocol, forgot about danger, and climbed through the damaged hull without a second thought. Inside, the craft was a disaster. Bodies in what looked like military armor lay motionless near the controls. Blood that was too blue to be human pooled on the floor. And huddled in the back corner, 3 small figures clung to each other, their large eyes wide with terror. They were children. Alien children, sure, with skin that shimmered pale purple and silver hair that moved like it was underwater, but children all the same. The oldest looked maybe 10 years old in human terms. The middle one was smaller, probably 7 or 8. And the youngest, barely more than a toddler, was crying so hard her whole body shook. Tyler slowly raised his hands, trying to show he meant no harm. He spoke softly, the way he would to a frightened deer. It did not matter that they could not understand his words. His tone said everything. I'm not going to hurt you. You are safe now. I am here to help. The youngest one looked at him with those huge, frightened eyes. Then, to his complete shock, she stumbled forward on unsteady legs and wrapped her small arms around his leg, burying her face against his knee. She was so tiny, so scared, and something in Tyler's chest cracked wide open. The other 2 children watched him carefully. The oldest positioned herself protectively in front of her sister, even though she was clearly terrified herself. Tyler could see injuries on all of them, cuts and bruises from the crash. They needed help, and they needed it fast. He tried his radio again. Still nothing but static. His phone showed no signal. Whatever these kids were, wherever they came from, they were alone now. The adults who had been protecting them were gone. Tyler looked at the 3 frightened faces staring up at him and made a decision that would change his entire life. He could not take them to the authorities. Not yet. Someone had shot down this ship, and for all he knew, that someone might still be looking for survivors. These children wore clothes that looked expensive, made from fabric that seemed to shift colors in the light. Their jewelry, what little they had, looked like it cost more than his annual salary. Important kids. Royal kids maybe. Which meant important enemies. Tyler gently scooped up the youngest, who immediately clung to him like he was the only solid thing in her world. He gestured for the other 2 to follow, and after a long moment, they did. As he led them out of the wreckage and toward his truck, Tyler Brooks realized he had just become the most unlikely bodyguard in human history. 3 alien princesses, lost in the wilderness, and only a park ranger standing between them and whatever danger had brought their ship down. He loaded them carefully into his truck, the oldest one still watching him with suspicious but desperate eyes. As he started the engine and headed toward his isolated cabin deep in the preserve, Tyler wondered what in the world he had just gotten himself into. One thing was certain though. These kids needed someone, and right now he was all they had. The first week was chaos. Tyler had no idea what alien children ate, how to treat their injuries, or even how to communicate with them. His ranger cabin, usually so peaceful and orderly, turned into something resembling a disaster zone mixed with a medical tent. He cleaned their wounds with the gentlest touch he could manage, relieved when their blood clotted just like human blood did. They flinched at first, but the youngest one, the tiny girl who had grabbed onto him at the crash site, seemed to trust him completely. Communication started with pointing and gestures. Tyler would hold up food and wait to see their reactions. Apples got enthusiastic nods. Bread was acceptable. Meat made them all look a bit queasy, so he figured they were vegetarians. He learned quickly that they liked sweet things, especially honey, which made the littlest one smile for the first time since the crash. That smile felt like winning the lottery. By the second week, they had settled into an uneasy routine. The oldest girl, who Tyler started calling Sarah in his head because she had a serious, serene quality about her, took charge of her younger sisters. She made sure they stayed quiet when Tyler indicated they needed to hide. She helped him figure out what they needed. The middle sister, who he thought of as Kiva because of the way she observed everything with keen, intelligent eyes, started exploring the cabin. She touched everything, studied everything, clearly trying to understand this strange human world she had landed in. But it was little Nix, the toddler, who captured Tyler's heart completely. She followed him everywhere on her unsteady legs. When he cooked, she stood next to him, babbling in her musical alien language. When he sat down to rest, she climbed into his lap. At night, she refused to sleep unless he was in the same room. Tyler found himself caring for her the way he imagined fathers cared for their daughters, and it terrified him how much he had grown to love this small alien child. 3 weeks in, something amazing happened. Tyler was making breakfast when Nix tugged on his sleeve and pointed at the eggs. She made a sound, then tried again, her face scrunched up in concentration. It sounded like she was trying to say his name, but it came out as Tai. His heart nearly stopped. She was trying to learn English. After that, the language barrier started crumbling. Tyler spent hours teaching them words. Tree, water, sky, safe. He pointed to himself and said his name over and over until all 3 girls could say Tyler properly, though Nick still preferred Tai, and he did not have the heart to correct her. Sarah picked up vocabulary the fastest, and within another week she could form simple sentences. Her first full sentence was, "Tyler, keep us safe," and he had to turn away so she would not see the tears in his eyes. As the weeks turned into months, the cabin transformed from a hiding place into a home. Tyler taught the girls how to fish in the creek behind his cabin. Sarah learned quickly, her movements precise and patient. Kiva treated it like a science experiment, studying the water and the fish behavior before making her attempts. Nix mostly just liked splashing in the shallow water and cheering when her sisters caught something. He showed them how to identify edible plants in the forest, how to read weather patterns in the clouds, how to move quietly through the woods. They taught him words in their language too. He learned that their planet had 3 moons, that their empire spanned more star systems than he could count on both hands, that their mother was an empress who ruled billions of people, and that someone had tried to kill them because of politics he could barely understand. The girls started wearing his old t-shirts as pajamas because their own clothes had been damaged beyond repair. Sarah helped him cook dinner every night. Kiva organized his bookshelf and tried to teach herself to read English by studying his field guides. Nix drew pictures with crayons he drove into town to buy, mostly drawings of the 4 of them together, which he proudly displayed on his refrigerator. Tyler kept monitoring the news and radio chatter. Search parties came through the area several times, both human military and what he suspected were alien search teams based on the strange energy signatures his equipment picked up. Each time, he hid the girls in a cave system he had discovered years ago, staying with them in the dark until the danger passed. Sarah never complained, just held her sisters close and trusted Tyler to keep them safe. At night, after the girls were asleep, Tyler would sit on his porch and wonder what he was doing. He was harboring alien royalty. He was probably breaking about 100 laws. The government would lock him up if they knew. But then he would hear Nix call out in her sleep and he would go to her, and she would reach for him with those small hands, and he knew he could not give them up. Not to anyone. Not until he knew they would be truly safe. These 3 alien princesses had become his family. And Tyler Brooks, a simple park ranger who had never wanted much from life, would protect them with everything he had. 3 months had passed since the crash, and Tyler's cabin had become something he never expected. A home full of laughter and life. The girls had changed so much from those terrified children he had pulled from the wreckage. They smiled now. They played. They felt safe. And Tyler had changed too in ways he was only beginning to understand. Mornings had developed their own rhythm. Sarah would wake first, always the responsible one, and help Tyler make breakfast. She had learned to crack eggs without getting shells everywhere and took pride in setting the table just right. Kiva would stumble out next, her silver hair sticking up in all directions, already talking about whatever new thing she wanted to explore that day. Nix was always last, dragging her worn stuffed bear that Tyler had given her from his old childhood belongings. She would not eat until she climbed into Tyler's lap first, her morning ritual that made him smile every single time. The language barrier had almost completely disappeared. Sarah spoke English fluently now, with just a slight musical accent that reminded Tyler she was not from Earth. She had started teaching him Valthini in return, patient with his clumsy pronunciation. Kiva mixed both languages together constantly, creating sentences that were half English and half alien words. Nyx chattered non-stop in her toddler mix of both, and somehow Tyler understood every word. But it was more than just language. They had learned to read each other in the way families do. Tyler knew that when Sarah got quiet, she was worrying about something. When Kiva paced around the cabin touching everything, she was anxious. When Nyx refused to let go of his hand, she had sensed danger somehow, her instincts sharper than any human child's. And the girls had learned him too. They knew when his shoulders tensed that he had heard something concerning on the radio. They knew his forced smile when he was hiding worry from them. They knew the difference between his "everything is fine" voice and his real relaxed voice. The bond showed itself in small moments. Like when Tyler came back from a supply run to town and all three girls rushed to the door, Nyx actually crying with relief that he had returned. Or when he got sick with a bad cold and Sarah tucked him into bed with the same gentle firmness he used with them, while Kiva made him terrible tasting tea that somehow made him feel better, and Nyx refused to leave his side. Or the day he found Kiva trying to fix his broken radio with tools she had crafted herself, determined to help him stay informed about the search parties. They had inside jokes now. Sarah did a perfect impression of Tyler's surprised face when he had first tasted their alien snacks from the survival pack they had salvaged. Kiva had named all the animals around the cabin, giving them ridiculous names like Professor Squirrel and Lady Rabbit III. Nyx had taught them all a clapping game from her planet, and they played it every night before bed, laughing until their sides hurt. But there were harder moments too. Nights when one of the girls would wake up screaming from nightmares about the attack. Tyler would rush to them, hold them, remind them they were safe. Sarah cried the least but hurt the most, Tyler thought. She remembered everything clearly. The explosion. The guards dying. The terror of thinking they would die too. She told Tyler one night that she remembered his face in the wreckage, how he had looked scared but determined, and how she had decided in that moment to trust him. Kiva dealt with her trauma through questions. She asked Tyler constantly about human security, about weapons, about how he would protect them if the bad people came back. He answered honestly, showed her his hunting rifle, taught her basic safety plans. It seemed to calm her, having knowledge and preparation. She started keeping a backpack ready by the door with supplies, just in case they needed to run. Nyx processed everything through play. She acted out the crash with her toys, but in her version Tyler always arrived immediately and saved everyone. The guards were just sleeping, not dead. Her mother was just on a trip and would be back soon. Tyler let her have these stories, understanding that a child her age needed hope more than harsh truth. The girls had started calling him something that made his throat tight every time he heard it. Not Tyler. Not Tai anymore. They called him Papa Tyler now. Sarah had started it one evening, casually, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Kiva picked it up immediately. Nyx had been calling him some version of that in Valthini for weeks already. Tyler had not corrected them. He could not. Because somewhere along the way that was exactly what he had become. He taught them everything he knew about surviving in the wilderness. Sarah could track animals now almost as well as he could. Kiva had memorized every edible plant within 5 miles of the cabin. Even little Nyx knew to stay quiet and still when Tyler gave the danger signal. They were not just hiding anymore. They were living. Building something real. Tyler knew this could not last forever. He monitored the communications every day, piecing together what he could about the political situation. The Valthini Empire was in chaos. The Empress was still searching for her daughters. Different factions claimed the princesses were dead, were captured, were being held for ransom. Nobody seemed to know the truth. That they were safe in a cabin in the woods with a human park ranger who loved them like his own children. Tyler woke to absolute silence, and that was how he knew something was terribly wrong. The forest was never silent. There were always birds, insects, wind through the trees. But this morning nothing made a sound. It was like the whole world was holding its breath. He moved quietly through the cabin, checking on the girls. All three were still asleep, Nyx curled up with her bear, Sarah's arm protectively draped over Kiva. His heart ached looking at them. Whatever was coming, he needed to keep them safe. He grabbed his rifle, more for comfort than any real belief it would help against whatever had silenced an entire forest. When he stepped onto the porch, his blood ran cold. Ships. Dozens of them, hovering above the trees in a perfect formation. These were not the search vessels that had passed through before. These were massive, elegant warships bearing symbols that even he recognized from the girl's jewelry. The Imperial Seal. The Empress had found them. Tyler's hands shook as he set down the rifle. No point in that now. He heard movement behind him and turned to find all three girls standing in the doorway, still in their makeshift pajamas. Sarah's face had gone pale. Kiva grabbed her sister's hand. Nix looked confused, still half asleep. Before Tyler could tell them to get back inside, the air in front of his cabin shimmered like heat waves on summer pavement. Figures materialized out of nothing. Guards in armor that looked like it was made from liquid starlight surrounded the clearing. And in the center of them all stood a woman who could only be the Empress. Talia was nothing like Tyler had imagined. He had pictured someone cold, distant, imperial. But the woman standing before him looked like she had not slept in months. Her elegant clothes could not hide how thin she had become. Her eyes, the same shade as Sarah's, held an exhaustion that went bone deep. This was not just an empress. This was a mother who had lost her children. Her voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. You have something that belongs to me. Tyler opened his mouth to respond, to explain, to beg for understanding. But he never got the chance. Mama? Nix's shriek cut through the tension like a knife. The little girl launched herself off the porch, running on her short legs faster than Tyler had ever seen her move. Sarah and Kiva were right behind her, both crying, both calling for their mother. The Empress dropped to her knees as her daughters crashed into her. Her composure shattered completely. She wrapped her arms around all three girls, making sounds that needed no translation. Relief, joy, desperate love. The mighty Empress of the Valthini Empire was just a mother holding her babies, crying into their hair. Tyler stood frozen on his porch, watching the reunion. This was it. This was the moment he had been dreading for 3 months. They were going home. They were leaving him. His girls were leaving him. He felt like his chest was being torn open. The guards watched him carefully, weapons ready but not aimed. Tyler raised his hand slowly, showing he was not a threat. He had always known this day would come. He just had not expected it to hurt this much. The Empress pulled back from her daughters, touching their faces, checking for injuries, speaking rapidly in Valthini. The girls answered in English, which seemed to surprise her. Then Nick said something that made Tyler's heart stop. She pointed at him and said clear as day, "Mama, that's Papa Tyler. He saved us." The Empress stood slowly, her daughters clinging to her sides. She turned to face Tyler with an expression he could not read. Her guards tensed, ready to act on her command. Tyler stood his ground on his porch, refusing to show fear. If this was the end, he would face it with dignity. How did you keep them alive? Her voice was steady now, back to imperial authority, but something else lurked underneath. Curiosity maybe. Or disbelief. Tyler found his voice. I just took care of them. Fed them. Kept them safe. They're good kids. They made it easy. Easy. The Empress repeated the word like it was foreign. My entire empire, all my resources, every intelligence agency and military force at my command, and I could not find them. Could not protect them. But you, one human with nothing, kept them safe for 3 months. I had something your empire didn't, Tyler said quietly. I had them right in front of me and they were all that mattered. No politics. No schemes. Just 3 kids who needed someone. Sarah stepped forward, still holding her mother's hand. Papa Tyler taught me to fish. And to read the stars. And he made sure we laughed every day even when we were scared. Kiva pushed forward too. He fixed Nix's bear when it ripped. And he learned our language. And he checked for danger every single night so we could sleep safe. Nix just wrapped herself around her mother's leg, but kept one hand stretched toward Tyler. Caught between 2 people she loved. The Empress looked at her daughters, really looked at them. They were healthy. Happy. They wore human clothes and spoke a human language and showed no signs of trauma beyond what the initial attack had caused. They had been protected, nurtured, loved. By this human stranger. Show me, the Empress said finally. Show me how you kept my daughters alive. Tyler led the Empress through his small cabin, suddenly aware of how simple everything was. Mismatched furniture he had collected over the years. A wood stove for cooking. Books stacked everywhere. The refrigerator covered in Nix's drawings. Sarah's fishing pole by the door. Kiva's collection of interesting rocks lined up on the windowsill. 3 small beds he had built himself, each with handmade quilts. The Empress touched nothing at first, just observed. Her guards stayed outside, giving them space. The 3 princesses hovered close to their mother, but kept looking back at Tyler, making sure he was still there. This is where they slept, Tyler said, gesturing to the bedroom he had given up for them. I took the couch. Nix had nightmares the first month, so I kept a sleeping bag on the floor in here most nights. He pointed to Nix's bear on the bed. That was mine when I was little. She adopted it the second night. The Empress picked up the worn stuffed animal, studied it, then looked at her youngest daughter. You love this bear? Nix nodded enthusiastically. Papa Tyler gave him to me. His name is Mr. Fuzzy. Tyler showed them the kitchen next. Took me a week to figure out what they could eat. Turns out apples are pretty universal. Kiva documented everything in that notebook there. She is a natural scientist. Kiva beamed with pride and showed her mother the careful notes she had made. Drawings of earth plants with their names in both English and Valthini. The Empress flipped through the pages, her expression unreadable. And Sarah? The Empress asked quietly. Sarah learned everything, Tyler said, pride creeping into his voice. She can track a deer through the forest. Knows every star visible from Earth. She helped me teach her sisters English. Honestly, I could not have done any of this without her. Sarah stood straighter, trying to be brave even though tears were sliding down her cheeks. Papa Tyler made us feel safe, Mama. Even when we were so scared. He never left us. Not once. They walked outside to the creek. Tyler showed the Empress the fishing spot, the garden plot where they had tried growing vegetables with mixed success, the trail where they took daily walks. He explained how he had kept them hidden during search parties, how he had monitored communications trying to understand what was happening in the Empire. I knew someone had tried to kill them, Tyler said. The attack on their ship was deliberate. Professional. I figured if I took them to any authorities, human or alien, word would get out. Whoever wanted them dead would get another chance. The Empress was silent for a long moment, looking out over the peaceful forest. Finally she spoke. You were correct. My own council orchestrated the attack. Members I had trusted for decades. They wanted to install a puppet ruler and my daughters were in the way. Her voice cracked slightly. Every safe house I had was compromised. Every trusted location was a trap. If you had brought them to anyone, they would have died. Tyler felt cold despite the warm afternoon sun. So staying hidden was the right call. Your isolation saved them. Your obscurity. The fact that you were nobody important, no offense intended. The Empress turned to face him. My empire spans 12 star systems. I command fleets that could destroy planets. I have technology beyond your comprehension. And yet I failed my daughters completely. While you, a simple park ranger with nothing but a cabin and good intentions, succeeded where I could not. I just did what anyone would do, Tyler said quietly. No. The Empress's voice was firm. Most would have sought reward. Recognition. Power. You asked for nothing. Expected nothing. You simply cared for 3 frightened children because it was the right thing to do. She called her guards over and spoke to them in rapid Valthini. They brought forward a case that shimmered with the same technology as their ships. The Empress opened it, revealing more wealth than Tyler had ever seen. Precious metals. Gems that glowed with inner light. Data chips that probably contained fortunes. This is a fraction of what I owe you, the Empress said. I can give you anything. Wealth beyond measure. A title in my court. Technology that would advance your entire planet. A palace on any world you choose. Name it and it is yours. Tyler looked at the treasure, then at the 3 girls watching him with wide eyes. Sarah looked terrified he would leave them. Kiva looked worried. Nix had started crying silently, clutching her bear. I do not want any of that, Tyler said. I just want one thing. I want them to remember this place. Remember that they do not have to be princesses every moment. That it is okay to just be kids sometimes. That kindness matters more than power. The Empress studied him for a long time. Then she did something that made her guards tense. She bowed her head to him, a gesture of deep respect. You have given me back everything that matters. My daughters are alive because of you. They are healthy and happy because of you. I cannot leave such a debt unpaid. Before Tyler could respond, Nix broke away from her mother and grabbed his hand. Mama, Papa Tyler has to come with us. He has to. Nix, sweetheart, I cannot just leave Earth, Tyler started to say. She is right. The Empress's voice was firm. My daughters have been through trauma that will take time to heal. They will need stability. Familiar faces. Someone they trust absolutely. She looked directly at Tyler. They need you. And I am asking you not as an empress but as a mother to come with us. I am just a park ranger, Tyler protested. I do not belong in your world. You belong wherever my daughters need you to be, the Empress said. I am not asking you to be a servant or an employee. I am asking you to be what you already are. Family. Sarah stepped forward. Please, Papa Tyler. We need you. Kiva nodded frantically. You taught us to be brave. Now you have to be brave too. Nix just held his hand tighter, her whole body shaking with the fear that he would say no. Tyler looked at these three girls who had crashed into his life and changed everything. He thought about his quiet cabin, his simple routine, his peaceful existence. Then he thought about never seeing them again. Never hearing Nix call him Papa Tyler. Never watching Sarah master a new skill. Never answering Kiva's endless questions. Okay, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Okay, I will come. The clearing erupted in chaos. Nix shrieked with joy. Kiva and Sarah tackled him in a hug that nearly knocked him over. Even the Empress smiled, genuine and warm. The guards looked confused but stood down. As they prepared to leave, Tyler took one last look at his cabin. He had come here 6 years ago looking for peace and solitude. Instead, he had found something he never knew he needed. A family. Purpose. Love. The Empress stood beside him. You gave my daughters something I could never provide alone. You showed them that strength comes in many forms. That sometimes the greatest power is simple kindness. Tyler Brooks, park ranger, had never wanted to be anyone special. But as he boarded an alien ship with 3 princesses holding his hands, heading toward an adventure across the stars, he realized something important. He had not become someone special. He had just done what felt right. And somehow that had been enough to change the fate of an empire. The human solution, it turned out, was the simplest one of all. Love the ones in front of you. Protect them with